Well, welcome in once again, everybody, to another edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers, and as always, we appreciate you tuning in, leaving some comments, leaving a like, sharing, or whatever. And today we've got another wonderful show for you today. As you know, if you know me at all, watched me at all, I love to talk about golf instruction. Because let's face it, without good golf instruction, you're going to suck at the game of golf. This is a very hard game. And as much as you think you could help yourself by listening to your buddies, by listening to your brother or your buddies or whatever, you can't quite do it. You need to have some solid golf instruction. And we've got one of those guys on the show for you today. He's one of the best at what he does. So let me tell you a little bit about our special guest, Brian Manzella. Brian is ranked the #1 golf instructor in the state of Louisiana. Brian is also ranked number 28 in America on Golf Digest's 50 Best Teachers in America. Brian is a native of New Orleans and has 35 plus years of teaching experience. So the guy knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about. Brian is the director of instructor at the Brian Manzella Golf Academy and Jacobs 3D. And in case you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about that a little bit with Brian, obviously. Also English Turn Golf and Country Club, and I love this, Bayou Oaks at City Park in New Orleans. After teaching at City Park in New Orleans, he moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where he was the 2003 PGA Kentucky Section Teacher of the Year. And as I say, a lot of experience. He's in New Orleans now where he lives. And as you know, terrible, terrible devastation with Hurricane Ida. But all is good with Brian and his family and a lot of other people, and we thank goodness for that. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Brian Manzella. Brian, so great to see you. So happy that you're doing well, that your family's doing well after this terrible devastation. So what's going on in New Orleans where you live right now?
Well, the main thing is, obviously the hurricane went through just to our west, and those folks got it a lot worse than we did here in the city. As ridiculous as this may sound, the main transmission lines or actually input power lines were on a 400-foot tower that goes over the Mississippi River. And for those folks who've never seen the Mississippi River, it ain't no little stream. And this thing has withstood Audrey, Betsy, Camille, all kind of names I can't remember, and also, the big one 16 years ago,
right,
Katrina, but it did not make it through Ida, and
wow,
the power and the lines fell in the Mississippi River. So you got 1 million people without power. That's why I'm on my back porch here, all sweaty, doing a little cleanup. And y'all are actually helping me out so I don't, overheat like I've already done at least once. We have some roof damage and other people in the area do too. And obviously, if you have enough roof damage like we have here at the house where I'm at, you get water damage and all the associated things. But everybody in the family is fine, and all the structures are repairable. You can't replace people. We learned all of that.
No, that's
Katrina. So it's awful nice to be here
totally
talking golf with a real pro like Dennis.
Oh, you're very, very kind. Brian, you've been there for a long time. In your estimation, how much of a repair job, how long is this going to take before people get back to normal if they can?
Well, I think that once the power and water, we actually have water here at the house, but a lot of folks in the immediate area do not. I think about 190 yards away, which is the Jefferson Parish, the county, we call them parishes here. They're just right up the street. That is without water as well. So
wow.
Once the power and the water comes on, people can get more done.
Right.
And companies, the mitigation companies are working on hospitals right now. We have family cousin that's at a hospital in Homa, and they bed evacuated every patient in there and took them to Houston
Wow.
because the
Wow.
hospital had a lot of damage. So I think New Orleans will be fine. The surrounding areas will take longer. I bet you if we can get the power on here, the second
Yep.
Saints home game might be able to be played home, and everybody being there cheering loud.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you gotten any information or talked to anybody, Brian, about the damage that? And I'm sure the golf course has got some damage to them as well.
The only text I saw or post was from James Lights, who's about an hour north of here at Chafuncta Country Club. Don't try to
Right.
spell it if you're not from here.
I've had James on the show.
Yeah, and they had tree damage and stuff like that at the course, which I'm sure if you drive around like my house, that's what it looks like mostly. Roof damage and tree damage. So I'm sure English Turn is similar. We're in the process of getting new greens, and they were growing in great. Who knows? Maybe the hurricane helps them.
Well,
It's small fry. It's small fries to the big things in life.
That's very, very true. All right, let's get into some golf now. And let me ask you this, Brian. What do you think is the most common fault of weekend players, of weekend amateurs, that really is preventing them from getting significantly better?
That's easy. What's interesting is after this COVID thing in 20, and obviously it still goes on, I give lots more adult, high end, like individual, nearly beginner or beginner lessons.
Right.
I've always given beginner lessons, and it seems like, over the years, it's been more and more little ones. But so I see it all the time. I don't just teach good players. And they grip it in their left hand like Corey Pavin's putting. It's not under the heel pad, and they have no real ability to do the twisting of the shaft that they need to do. And then they take the path of least resistance on the backswing and super cup their wrists. Feels good because the club goes way back.
Right.
The club face winds up 130 degrees open. And then if they made a good downswing, which maybe it happens once or twice accidentally when they start playing, the ball goes so far right you can't get a letter from it maybe. And so then they do all these things that you see on every driving range tee around the world. I've been lucky enough to travel talking golf. And you can fix a lot of those people real quick. You just fix their left-hand grip and obviously a little bit of the right-hand grip and get them in a position where their wrist isn't so open and the club isn't so open, and teach them to twist the face on the downswing. And sometimes relatively instantly, you got a person hits a right to left shot.
Yeah.
So everything else changes, even if I didn't teach them to do it.
Right.
They would figure out how to do don't come over the top and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. Sometimes it's a lot harder than that, but number one with a bullet, the wide open club face from those two things.
Right, and that's well said. And speaking about grip, Brian, let me ask you this. We know there are 3 or 4 different kinds of grips. We know that a grip is extremely important when you're learning how to play golf. Do you favor one type of grip over another? And if you do, why, number one? And there's been instructors here in Southern Nevada in the Las Vegas Valley, especially with older players, more experienced players, Brian, that are starting to have them do the old baseball, the old 10-fingered grip. And you know what? They're having a hell of a lot of success with it.
Yeah, I can see that. Basically, I prefer, just to answer the question and not dodge it, I prefer an overlap grip. So if I'm teaching a brand new golfer, that's what I'll do. The reason why, there's really, obviously, the interlock grip can't be too bad if Nicklaus and Tiger did it.
True.
So, people think, I think people think that just because they interlock it, the rest of the grip doesn't matter. And the hands wind up all over the place. It's a little easier to at least get the hands together with the overlap grip. But I've had some Saracen grips in the last year. It's thumb off the grip, interlock.
Right.
I'll use whatever works and I can see teachers having success with 10 finger grips and all kinds of things. When folks get a little bit older, this hyperthenoeminence, that's the only word I know. Jacobs knows all the other complicated words. He's the one that cuts up cadavers. The heel pad, the golfer's heel pad, gets a little less elastic, or whatever the right word is, when folks get older, and they need slightly weaker grips. So if you have the weaker left-hand grip and you can't use that to twist the face, then separating the hands by either a baseball grip or a 10-finger grip helps them throw the club more. They can't twist it as much, so they have to throw it to square it up, and I can understand that. I will say this. I see a lot of posts on Facebook. You and I are on Facebook all the time.
Yeah.
And it likes to poo-poo the grip. And let me just say this. I think a lot of folks don't like teaching the grip because they're not that good at it. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's
agree.
a pain in the rear end to get on your knee 500 times in an hour and keep putting somebody's hands back on the club. It's not easy work. This is the way I do my job. I don't care if I get muddy or sweaty, or I don't give a dang. I'm just trying to earn my keep. And if you put somebody's hands on the club really well that aren't a good player, I have never ever seen anybody get worse because of it. Not once in 38 years. And here's a little interesting factoid. I did a thing for Time Magazine, owned back then Sports Illustrated and Golf Magazine. So I had made the top 100 list, like I've done now for 12 straight years. And we did something called Sports Illustrated at the majors in 20. So the 3 U.S. majors and the Ryder Cup was in Chicago. We got our booties handed to us. And 600, I cataloged it, like 625 golfers. And about 100 and a quarter, give or take, were pretty much beginners. And I put their left hand on there like I would do to you, Dennis, if I was giving you a lesson and you got perfect hands, I'm sure, just like Mr. Hogan. and do you know that 85% of those people on the first ball, I said, what do this work? Why don't I do it? It's like a little research project. So I would grip them and get the heck out the way and say, hit it. And well, how do I swing? I said, don't make any difference. Just hit another ball for me. And I got TrackMan running. 85% of the people swung some amount more inside out. Now, maybe they went from 10 degrees outside in to 3 degrees outside in, but 85%. So obviously the human brain's a little smarter than people give us credit for. We would have never made it out of those caves, right?
That's right. That's interesting.
So the grip is a lot more important than a lot of folks want to say. It's not a fundamental. Obviously, you can grip the club any kind of which way.
Sure.
But I'll take Hogan and Snead's grip and spot everybody all the homemade grips. Give them 5 aside.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right. Last question before we take our first break, Brian. How does a golfer, a man or a woman, figure out just what type of swing philosophy is best for them? Because you and I both know there are so many damn swing philosophies today, it could get confusing. But how does one go about figuring out what works for them best, Brian?
I've used this a lot as an analogy, but this is the first time doing your show, so I'll use it again. This mop right here, not much, right? But that's still there. I pay $40 to get my hair cut. The girls help me a decent amount. Ladies help me a decent amount figure out what looks best on this big, ugly mug. But if you go to like somebody that's famous, like Nick Aruzio or Vidal Sassoon or somebody, with somebody with a head of hair like you've got, Dennis, or I do when I grow it out, and there's a bunch of it. You shut up and you sit down there in the seat, and they'll figure it out. Now, I've probably given a couple of thousand less who told me what they wanted when they showed up. But I would stay away from pragmatic teachers who have one philosophy unless you desperately, in your heart of hearts, want to try it.
Right.
But, buyer beware. I tried a long time ago when I said, I'm going to try to get in this golf teaching gig, and I'm going to try to make it to the top. I figured out what I needed to do was be able to teach Ed Fiore and then Nicholas and help them both and you can't do that if you have too narrow a
Right.
focus as a teacher.
Yeah. That's well said. You got to have that flexibility, and we're going to get into that in a minute. All right, Brian, stay with us. We're going to step away and take a short break. When we come back, obviously a lot more with our special guest, PGA teaching professional, tour teaching professional, Brian Manzella. We're back right after this.
When I first learned about Encore, I was a little taken back because I didn't know much about the ball. I went out and played a couple rounds with it, and I was just extremely surprised how this ball made up for what I was looking for in a golf ball 20 years ago. It's a very straight ball. It launches a little higher than other balls that I've used, which is ideal for the tour because we're playing firm and fast greens. A lot of the balls do fly very similar, but this ball reacts so much differently around the greens and inside 100 yards than any other ball I've ever played. The combination of this ball is the best ball that I've ever played.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to a continuation of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, and quickly, we're so happy to have the Daily Divots on board as a new advertiser, and they're connected with Click It Golf, and you go to clickitgolf.com. They do some amazing stuff. Back with our conversation with top teaching professional Brian Manzella. Brian, do you think most amateur golfers try to do too damn much with their swing and perhaps overthink what they're doing?
I got a blowout on the interstate yesterday with my 91-year-old mom, and I looked at pulled over into a subdivision. I looked at the instructions. I got a 20/20 enclave. I'm sure somebody smart wrote them. Lucky that three brothers lived across the street and came and helped me watch them change my tire because it was going to take me a couple hours. So
Wow.
The answer to that, what is the deal with that? Well, I'm sure everything in those instructions, right, were correct. It just wasn't written very good.
Right.
Right. And I probably would have had to more or less figure it out on my own. That, to me, sums up what most people are trying to do as they report to me when they come take a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do A, B, C, D. And it's like how to change a tire in a Mercedes and how to fix a flat on a Swin, with like we have when we were 7 years old. It's like, it's not too much. It's just either poorly explained. I always say this: what the teacher says, what the student thinks the teacher says, and then what the student's trying to do. So you just have to you just have to replace it with what they need to know and nothing else. And that what they need to know might be a reasonable amount of stuff. If somebody, I do this a lot in lessons. I do a little 3-minute little, hold your phone up there and I'll tell you what we just did in the lesson, and you have that as your reference.
Right.
It's 3 minutes of me talking nonstop. We did this and we did that. And we did that. Would that be too much? But I try to always tell people, and I part of my business is teaching teachers, other teachers, young teachers and some of them not so young. And I tell them, listen, at the halftime mark of a lesson, if you can't boil it down to one pretty short run-on sentence, you're overdoing it. It doesn't mean there's a bad idea. It just means that, or ideas. It just means that the amount of stuff has to be able to be boiled down into something that somebody can recite to their best
Correct.
friend. What did you learn in your lesson? Well, Brian fixed my grip, and he told me on the backswing to widen my right elbow and finish with the club on my left shoulder like couples. If you can't boil it down to that, it's too much for anybody to do. And then the during the swing stuff has to be maybe one thing. Could be maybe one and a half. As you know from just knowing, because you do this for a living and you're real good at it. I've worked with David Tom since he's been at LSU,
Right.
and I've had David on the tee hitting it perfect before an event, and I said, "That's it, babes, just go with that." And he'll always tell me, "No, you got to give me something." In other words, give me something like, okay, when you're coming out of your transition, feel like you push outward in your shoe. Okay, that you hit a ball. I don't like that one. Give me another one, and I'll come up with one short. Good players want one thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
if you're doing the one thing, then you're not worried about this shot is worth $400,000 like it cost somebody in this last tournament.
Right.
You're
right.
just thinking, okay, 7-iron over water, who cares? This is where I got to aim. Here's my spot. I'm going to set up. Oh, yeah, and in transition, I got to push out my shoe a little bit so I don't come over it. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated to be a great idea that you could write a dang whole article on, but it doesn't have to be so much that somebody can't use it in a tournament.
Right. Totally agree with you, Brian. Well said. But there is a number of people, there's a growing philosophy, for lack of a better term, that somebody will go to an instructor for 45, 50 minutes, even an hour, and they're saying it's just too much damn information. All that is hitting them in the face for an hour. That's why they think lessons should be compacted to maybe 15 or 20 minutes so you stop that confusion. What's your feeling about that?
Baloney. I taught at a place in Louisville when I went up there, like you said, in the open, and the guy who ran Humana's son wanted to get in the golf business. Didn't know anything about it. So he hired all these marketing people that didn't know anything about it. They hired me to be director of instruction at this place. And they wanted me to give half-hour lessons because their information said that's what people wanted. I was stranding people, Dennis. I consider myself, there's no tour for this and there's no contest for this, the world's best 3 or 4 minute lesson teacher on this planet. I'll do it against anybody for any amount of money, any place, anytime, anywhere. But I wouldn't do that to you if you told me, hey, I'd like to come through New Orleans. I could give you 3 minutes, but I think I would do better in an hour or two, right? And I understand folks who think, people come to you a lot of times, Dennis, they think they're better than they really actually are.
Oh, yeah.
I think the reason for that is they play with very good players.
Right.
And I used to play in a Saturday and Sunday morning group. They're about to put the band back together, which just a bunch of guys I grew up with in high school that played other sports. And you dress like I'm dressed here, doing yard work after the storm. And you play little rinky-dink public courses and you have a barrel of laughs. All of those guys got better when we had that group together 20 years ago because they had one scratch player in the group.
Right.
They all played with me and they saw how I walked into the ball and how I lined up a shot. And you know what I mean? So people need information. There's just so much damn bad information out there. And to be honest, without being a jerk about it, not that good of amount of golf instruction that's good. And that's why so many people say, baloney, I'll just do it myself. And it's a shame, but it's getting better. I know that's not the question, but I'm going to give you the answer.
No,
it's better the last 10. It's gotten better the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, 2 things real quickly. I thought for sure it would be one of your friends that would be the scratch player and not you. And secondly, what the hell would you charge me for a lesson if I came through New Orleans and went to see you, Brian? Do I get a
Well,
media? Do I get a
I'm
media
sure
rate?
I would give you the media rate and bring you to Parkway Tavern for a shrimp po' boy too. How about
Oh
that?
man! Oh God! Now you got my mouth. Now you got my mouth
And a
running.
bar troop beer.
I love it. All right, let me ask you this again before we take a hard break. There's an old saying, and you're familiar with it, Brian, that says your swing kind of mimics your personality. In other words, if you are high energy, A personality, you've got a fat swing. If you're kind of a laid back type person, man or woman, you're going to have a lower swing, not a short swing, but a slower swing. Is there anything to that? Did you hear me?
Yeah. I did. Everybody wants to make sure I'm okay. So
Yeah.
basically, here's the answer. Yes. If what you're trying to do as a golfer,
Yeah.
even maybe not just your swing, but your style of play doesn't match at least a personality, may not be the personality you walk around the street, go to shopping mall,
Right.
but one that you can like step into when you put on your cleats. It ain't gonna work, right? And when David went to the first couple tour schools right out of LSU, I came back with four things that all the best players I saw, and I saw a lot of them, do. And one of them was they have a golfing personality. Might not even be theirs, but it everything fits around it, right?
Right.
So if it's going to be like conservative, you're going to dress conservative, and like Kerry Middlecoff said in his book, I needed to slow down, so I listened to slow music in the car. All of that matters. It does. And if you're an Arnold Palmer personality and you try to play, point A to point
Right.
B target golf, it ain't gonna cut it over a long period of time. It's gonna bite you in the little booty.
Yeah. No, that's very good. That's very good. All right, we're going to step away. We're going to take another short break. We come back. We're going to finish up with our very special guest, Brian Manzella, coming to us live from New Orleans, Louisiana, post Hurricane Ida. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scorers will love you for it. That's ONCORE golf.com.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the lag shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com.
All right, we are back, everybody, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We've got a wonderful guest in Mr. Brian Manzella, and we're going to continue our discussion right now. And I've got a question for Brian. Brian, it's my belief today that really all of the golf equipment that is being made today, woods and irons, are good. They just don't make any bad golf equipment anymore. What's your opinion?
I would say mostly correct. I would say everybody's high-end stuff, right? They're making, I mean, obviously, they got to make some stuff that people can afford.
Yeah.
Everybody's high-end stuff, I would have no problem playing with. I don't think there's been any other time that I would say that. I think club fitting's gotten a lot better, although that it has issues too, like any other profession. But if you buy a retail set of clubs now, you're buying super high-end clubs compared to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like better than the tour players played with.
Yeah.
And because of that, used golf clubs, if you're just starting out, you can go on eBay and kind of mouse around and find yourself $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff for, $700 or $800. That's just somebody's cast offs. And the thing though, the bad side of that is that you can get clubs that are so hot faced now that, it is making golf sort of a different game. What they did to Caves Valley there is a pretty good indicator.
Incredible.
At the tour level,
Yeah.
I'm a Callaway guy. They've been taking care of me for about 10 years now. And I play with a set from a couple of years ago called the Rogue Pros. It's not a blade club. It's not a big old game improvement club, but it's a little cavity back.
Right.
It's got a hot face. I can hit the 7-iron downwind 195 yards on a normal swing. You give me about 8 mile an hour downwind because it goes so high, it's knuckle and it's got like 4,800 spin. For people who don't know, the Spalding top flights I played with in 1980, that was probably 7,700 spin. So it has its issues in the game, and you can discuss that for 99 years. But I'll leave it to say it's better than it's ever been, and there's so much damn money, and they're making so much money.
Oh, incredible!
Now
Incredible.
Because of this, the COVID, I'm going to go buy me a set of clubs.
Incredible.
It's true that you can't even hardly spend $5,000 and get it all shipped to you, overnight like you could before. You're going to have to wait a couple of months. But it is the manufacturers are doing a great job.
Tremendous. So that's interesting, Brian. You've been fooling Callaway for 10 years?
Well, it's not like they're giving me any money, right? I just golf club. So I think if they thought I was such a big deal, and I think I am, I'd be on some fancy deal like Shaheen or somebody. My relationship there is a guy named Nick Arthur, who used to go to my old web forum that I'm resurrecting here shortly, and great guy, Mac O'Grady disciple, and he's basically head of fitting out there in Carlsbad.
Yeah. And
so when I was looking for a company, I'm a people person, and I want to be with somebody that I know. And if there's any issues, or I need something right away, he's my contact, and he's just an absolutely awesome resource if anybody wants to go out to Carlsbad and go through one of those fancy fittings.
Callaway's a great product, very, very popular. I played Callaway for years and years and years. But Brian, what's your opinion on golf instructors who people can go to that I refer to as a one-stop shop? They do golf instruction. They help you with your mental game. They'll help you with nutrition. They'll help you with exercising. I don't think one person can do all of that well, and I think you just should, with a golf instructor, stick to teaching golf mechanics. What's your view on that?
Well, depends on how much spare time you have, right? Being the golf instructor, like my compadre Michael Jacobs is a expert on anatomy. He's working with the #1 guy on the subject in the world, Tom Myers. I'm sorry, Randy Myers.
And I want to talk about your involvement with 3D after you answer this question.
Yeah, so he's cut up cadavers, and he's working with the guy. You go somebody that's a good physical therapist, and they've got Tom Myers, charts on the wall. So Jacobs is a single guy, so he's got this whole extra 8 hours a day, basically, to become an expert in the science and the body. But he would be the first person to tell you, hey, go to some good club fitter if you want to get fit.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? In other words, he knows he can't do everything. I consider myself to be a good short game teacher, and I'm primarily known as, a full swing guy. And hey, I'll give you what I've learned about mental coaching and all that. But if somebody said that they wanted to work with a mental coach, I would certainly refer them to a damn professional at it.
Right.
Just like I would do with club fitters or nutritionists or anything. You can't be everything. And, but as far as you're going to go is 2 or 3 things, and that's it. And the folks are maybe trying to do a little bit of everything. They're doing everybody a disservice by not, recommending people outside their little circle to get some extra good information.
If you're going to do something, that one thing, do it well rather than, take away from that. Briefly, how did you get involved with Jacobs 3D?
So I was a protege of Ben Doyle, who folks know, from his association with the golfing machine. And
what a great guy.
I started working with Ben in '87, and late '90s, he says, they got this young guy out in Long Island. He's just like you, not as loudmouth as you are, but, he's the same kind of like go-getter.
Yeah.
I think y'all would hit it off for whatever reason. I think really the man upstairs, as he's running things. He moved the pieces around, and it took about, 10 years before we ever got together. And I mean, we had one dinner, and that was it. We started doing golf schools together, and now we're involved with Jacobs 3D. And so at some point, the little group that we were in that splintered off to just me and him, and those guys went their separate ways, thankfully. We had run out of information from golf pros, which you know more golf pros than I do, so it's doable. you can exhaust your sources.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We ran into this guy named Stephen Nesbitt, who the USGA had hired. Frank Thomas, who just passed away, had hired to do all this research for the USGA. He took a liking to me and Jacobs, and especially Jacobs. They're almost like the same person. And all this software that he did for the USGA that he retained the rights to, him and Jacobs put it together in a way that a golf pro could use it. And so basically what it can do now, to simplify the answer, is somebody can make a swing. You put a 3D suit on them in gears, which is a high-end 3D thing that lots of folks have. And it'll tell you which way you were pulling on the club and which way you were twisting on the club and how your joints were working as far as their torques and forces too. And it takes the guesswork out. Like he's worked with Harrington. Patrick Harrington just turned 50 yesterday. Happy birthday, Patty. And he was able to get Patty to do Things that other folks have had 17 years, getting all kind of so-called 3D stuff. And it's where if you're a junkie and a swing junkie, it's the ultimate bunch of information. And it's been a total pain in the rear end in the industry to see how we've been treated with even just like stuff that we've given away. Because folks are always scared of change, and they're always scared of one or two guys it'd be like if 2 guys had the only TrackMan in the world.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You'd want to say some bad things about TrackMan.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Last question before I let you go. With all that's happened in your neighborhood, so to speak, what are you going to do about teaching? Do you have lessons book? Are you going to move them somewhere else? What are you going to be able to do?
Yeah, I got a 2:30 today. I don't think we're going to do it. It's 115 in the studio. So what I did, I had a mentor besides Ben, a local pro, older guy, had done everything. Don DeLavasso, great big guy. You'd love him. He did radio in his day. Passed away a couple years ago. Don said, hey, babes, you're never going to make any money in this business unless your daddy owns the driving range. So we built the house right next door to this greenhouse right here. We built another house. My mother-in-law lives downstairs, and I put a state-of-the-art 950 square foot studio in the sky up on top.
Nice.
It didn't get any, thankfully, no damage in the storm. I haven't
Awesome.
fired everything up yet, but I'll be up as soon as we have power.
Awesome.
I had lessons scheduled for Saturday that while we were thinking about evacuating, we evacuated Sunday. I could have given lessons Saturday pre-hurricane. People who are golf junkies, they want to get their fix, and I don't blame them. I'm looking forward to getting back at it. English Turn will be up and running in City Park. They've survived hurricanes in the past, and I'm sure we will again.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure you will. Good for you. Anyway, Brian, great having you on. Enjoyed it very, very much. I'm sure all of our viewers did. We wish you nothing but
thing does not smell of it. Good thing
yeah,
does not
you
smell
got
of
it. Yeah. And I also want to thank you for dressing. But anyway, just kidding. We're going to have you back on again sooner than later, and keep track of what you're doing. And I really appreciate spending the time with us today.
It was great, Dennis. You're the best.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. Brian Manziel, everybody. What a great guy and a very, very good instructor. All right, we're going to go to our game improvement tip of the week, brought to you by Scratch Golf Academy with Adam Bazalgette. Just a great instructor. Here it is, and we're going to be back with you right after that.
Hi there, Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy with a 19th hole podcast for golfers, tip for game improvement. Let's see if we can help you out here a little bit. And let's talk about the dreaded chicken wing, the lead arm bending through the shot and looking in mid follow through, all sort of pushed up and into the body instead of that great look you see the pros have, where it looks a little bit more like that. First off, just as a concept, you want the weight of the golf club, it's heavy at high speed, the weight of the club to snap your arm straight as energy goes out to the club. That's what's really going to do the job, not you fighting physics and trying to straighten your arm up. But here's three barriers, here's three things I often see that people either don't take into account or they just flat out cause them to make these mistakes. An out to in swing, which a lot of people have, is a big problem there, because as the club comes from out here in towards my body, tends to push my arms up into me. Plus, if I release the club, I'd hit it a mile left anyway. So an out to in swing is a definite downer. Next thing, snapping the club straight or releasing your wrist too early so that by the time you do get into the ball, there's really not much stored energy in the club. We talked a minute ago about the energy of the club makes your arms get long. So an early release is definitely a problem. And the final one is, a lot of people don't realize that great golfers, when they put sensors on their trunk and arms and hips, as they get ready to hit the ball, they are actually slowing down. And as they decelerate, it transfers energy and snaps it out to the golf club. Think of a field goal kicker. Once that leg stops, this guy can pick up speed. So a lot of people are so busy trying to swing hard through the ball, they don't decelerate their body enough to snap the club out there. So let's have a go. We're not trying to hold angle and be ineffective. We're trying to get a powerful snap from the inside. Let's have a mini finish. Right there, I could really feel me slow down, the energy pop to the club. Got that good look in my arms. Hope this helps you.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the show today. Great information from Brian Manzella. You know, great instructor. And as I mentioned at the top, you need some good, solid instruction if you want to develop your swing and become a good player. And he's absolutely one of the best. We're happy that he's safe, his family's safe, everybody that is in New Orleans and the surrounding areas is safe. Just terrible devastation with Hurricane Ida, but it's they're going to get back to it. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, thanks for joining us on this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I've been your host, Dennis Silvers. Wishing you, again, get out and play some golf. Fairways and greens. We'll be back with you same time, same place next week. So long, everybody.